How did we enable SumUp to surpass all of their competitors in their field sales operation with a custom web app integrated into the IT infrastructure, nailing all of the feature requests by the very specific target group of field sales agents in just 1 year? Stay tuned for this episode. Hi, my name is Nils, co-founder of Dinghy Studio. As both a seasoned web developer and UI designer, I bridged the critical gap between design, development, while leading our fully remote digital strategy team, helping organizations create sustainable solutions that transform user experience into business success, especially as AI reshapes how we all interact with technology. Today, I'm excited to have Alina Miron with me on the podcast. She's senior product manager on the SumUp team. We worked together for almost a year on the project that we're going to talk about today. And she's also a perfumer with her own olfactive studio. Thank you for taking the time to record this session with me.
Is this on the record?
Is this on the record? Alina, thank you for taking the time to record this session with me. So today we're talking about Sidekick, our joint project that you hired us to help with at SumUp. And I want to know, so we had this started for a couple of weeks before you came in, and there were, I'd say like the bare minimum, right? Like we started from scratch. It's a web application, all of that stuff. And we started in summer and you came in September.
True.
I don't know, could you first of all maybe give us a little bit of context, maybe actually from what you heard and when you were asked if you would like to replace the product manager at the time that we started out with?
Yeah.
What's the scope of all of this and what were your expectations, I guess? We didn't know each other back then too.
We didn't.
Right?
Yeah.
And now we almost spend a year with each other.
How lovely is that?
And it's super lovely. I mean, so I just want to say that up front that I love this project. Like it's, we of course, as a studio who works in UX, whenever we actually get to fulfill our mission to make something useful that helps an organization and the users at the same time to scale. So this is super exciting. And I think that's what we did here. So this is why you're on today, because I want to hear all the juicy details that I usually don't hear.
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really lovely to be able to do this in person also.
Yeah.
We're in Berlin. Neither of us live in Berlin, but hey, here we are recording.
In the SumUp office, by the way. Like it's the music room, but
Yeah, you've asked me essentially, what did I know about the project coming into it? It's because I was a product manager before at SumUp, but on a different project. And then I guess you could say that I was almost like poached into this project. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
At the beginning, I've heard about the ambition of that SumUp had to kickstart this field sales motion in multiple markets. And to build a sales motion, you obviously need the right tooling. And this is how the context was presented to me. We sort of building our in-house CRM system, if you want, to help SumUp build, launch, and also scale a field sales motion.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a background of fintech, so I've actually seen one of SumUp's competitors in the UK who's built the largest field sales force. I've seen that firsthand, so I have a little bit of experience understanding what a field sales motion represents.
And the complications that come with it,
of course, right? It's never easy. You know, I've even worked in parking, and it sounds like it would be easy to build a parking app. And it was probably to this day one of the most complex systems I've had to work with.
How hard can it be to drive your car and then get a ticket and then pay and then leave?
Yeah.
And how hard can it be to walk in a store, make an appointment, sell a contract and leave?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Well,
little did we know.
Yeah.
So this is how it was presented to me. And I knew that we had Dinghy on board, and this was presented like, hey, we have this, we have Nils and Dinghy, and you know, he's actually been a SumUpper before, and they're gonna help us build what was at the time.
Yeah, we didn't even have a name, right?
Yeah,
I think it was actually the field sales app.
The
like
field
it was
sales
something
app. Exactly.
ridiculously uncreative.
So I was like, cool, that sounds exciting. Again, I know how dynamic sales teams are, and probably like field sales is the epitome of that. Like you have your regular sales, I don't know, telesales, inside sales, whatever sales, which are super dynamic, super crazy, super fun to work with. And then you have field sales, which is another beast. Because of that, I saw it as a challenge, and I was excited by it. And also, I think working with an external agency that not only provided design, engineering, but also user research, to me that was incredible, because usually you just get someone who builds whatever you tell them to do, and they don't actually become part of the project, which I think you do very differently. And we can talk more about that, of course. Initially, when I heard all of these things, those were like positive signals for me. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, as you said, like I've worked at SumUp 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And for me, this was a crazy experience to come back. Still very happy that Mark even thought about us, you know, like because we've also before like didn't see each other for several years. And SumUp was considerably smaller back then. Like it was like 200 people. And the first time I came here, I was like completely shocked. I was like, oh my God, it's an office tower. Okay. And there's like hundreds of people running around. And so how we started was basically just the description of saying, look, we want to build this field sales app to enable our force, as you said, and to build it up and to scale, because we know already like we're doing it, but it's small and manual. And if we scale this up now, it will just be way too slow. Like the internal processes, like to integrate with all of the systems was actually one of the most important requirements for the app. And that is why SumUp considered to even go through the trouble of making this entire thing that you can buy. I mean, there's enough apps that you can buy that also claim that they can integrate with your system.
And I think claiming is like, that's the key word, you know, like I think a lot of people, when they consider plug and play applications, they're being sold a dream. And then 6 months down the line, you have a product that works in isolation, and you still have to go back to maybe your platform teams and be like, can you please spend 6 months integrating with this,
with API,
with this tool?
Yeah.
And then within that time, you probably would have been able to build the same thing, maybe even better, because you build it for yourself.
As you said, like we're not only doing UX, we're also coding web applications, we're also designing stuff. And so like, I'm not necessarily a full stack engineer myself, but when I heard the initial project scope and what the vision was for the end product, I was all right, this is I mean, so if we would just talk about the UX concept for a field sales app, I already thought, this is probably like a pretty specific kind of user, right? Like they have very specific needs, and it's for sure not anything that we did up till now. But it was also clear that we couldn't just build whatever we wanted, because there is an existing landscape of all sorts of systems where we got to integrate with, and we're going to get data from. And I would say to this day, this is one of the most important things we always have to consider when prioritizing features and when trying to figure out what we even, like, there's a thing that we want to build.
What can we pragmatically and realistically achieve in a way that like we improve the experience for our users, we move the needle for our business goals, but also it works with the debt that we have, you know, like a company that's been operating for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
It's bound to have like legacy tools, legacy processes, and like anyone who thinks otherwise is very naive.
I think so too. Yeah.
So you got to operate within the bounds of these constraints, right? Like it's just the nature of work and of software these days.
It is like, and I think honestly, like SumUp is like a very high-tech company already. So anything that we also see in other projects that we do, the reality is that it is messy. And humans are, the same, and priorities change. And so you always got to work with what you have. And 1 year into the project, what would you say is the current status of the project? Or like, are you happy with where we are? What do you feel we accomplished in this year?
So I think, maybe you can see from my smile, but obviously I'm quite pleased with it.
Yeah, super awesome.
It's because 1 year into it, Sidekick has turned 1 year old. When in July, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Just now?
During summer break. Like Mark was crazy enough to spring this on people when they were literally at an offsite.
Yeah, I mean, of course. That's how usually things happen. Yeah. So thanks, Mark, if you're watching this.
Way to make friends.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. Actually, even today, I was analyzing Sidekick versus some of the tools that our competitors have, and I'm super proud of it because within a year, not only we've achieved parity with what the basics of a CRM would be, but also we've introduced some of the special sauce of SumUp, and we've actually managed to go beyond what typical MVP feature set would look like for such a tool.
Nice.
And I think we're now also when I build products, my preferred approach is to build minimum lovable products, not minimum viable products.
Yeah.
And I think definitely we've hit that, right? I think Sidekick right now is 1 year old and we are between at the cusp of minimum lovable product, and then now we're going towards optimization and scale and all of that. So we're now facing, as you know, a very different set of challenges, but it means we've done well.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the signs a couple weeks or months ago, like I think also the last time I was in Berlin for a workshop, we had these situations that other teams were approaching you to say like, hey, so we heard you have that and that feature set on the app and that user, and like, so I felt Sidekick is starting to be this gooey ball that just attracts other balls, which is, I guess, a good sign if people view something as as a solution. That's super cool. I mean,
and I think that's also part of the vision that we have for such a tool. I really want to believe in a future where every SumUpper is enabled by our tooling to promote our products and to actually sell them. Like there's so many times that you go and grab a coffee and you're chatting to the merchant, and you're actually maybe noticing that some of their hardware is actually quite bad, or we have something that we could offer them that is way better.
Yeah.
So we as SumUppers oftentimes engage in those types of conversations with merchants. So then I hope that with Sidekick and we can enable every SumUpper to become a field seller, essentially, right? So yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Hey, so maybe let's talk about the different users and stakeholders we have in this project, because this was, for me, like that was something, like whenever I start to envision how a new project might develop, depending on what I hear in the briefing and what I know about the organization, right? The pressure was up from day one, because the brief was basically, hey, we're trying to get this off the ground for half a year, and I really want to do this now because we're getting on more field sales agents one way or the other. And if we don't have the IT infrastructure to support this, then this is going to be super horrible for everyone internally, because the workload is going to be bonkers. So that was like a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
Real human beings running around, investing their time of life to go from one location to the next. This can't not work is like also one thing that I always, right? Like it's just, if you build something and people can't use it online sitting in their office, that's already, of course, horrible and not great. But I always imagine these people like driving around with a car or with a bike, or like going from one place to the other in any weather, and then they have this thing that they really rely on to go through their day and to, well, sell SumUp solutions.
I mean, it's how people earn their bread.
They totally are, right?
We can't mess that up for them.
Exactly.
Because our tooling is bad, because that's actually impacting the livelihood of someone.
Totally.
You know, so I always like to think about that.
Absolutely. And also our user group with the field sales people, they are, of course, following their own interest, right?
Yeah.
They're following their interest to be able to earn money with what they're doing right now.
Of course.
Right. On the other hand, we have, well, SumUp, and more detailed, we have like different sorts of stakeholders who also, well, they share some interests, of course. Everybody wants to sell SumUp solutions, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But the intricate details of who wants what represented how in this app, right? I think that was always the whole technical implementation with all of the legacy system or the systems in place that we have to integrate with. Huge challenge. But I think from my perspective as the one working with you on the UX concept was always to fit all of these different views into a feature roadmap that everybody can get behind and look forward to the next release and to actually have something better than the week before.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did a lot of user research. You mentioned that already. Sure. But you were the one, well, in the melting pot of all of that, I guess.
Yeah.
So what was your experience with this? Like, we tried to support as good as we could, but you were still the one in the ring. So
yeah. Look, for the record, I love all of my stakeholders.
Of course, we always do. Everyone does. Yeah.
No, I'm joking aside. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm in the trenches with everyone, and luckily we're all driven by the same North Star. We're all going in the same direction, but everyone has their kind of special flavor of how is it that they're going to achieve what they need to achieve. So obviously, even within field sales, there's the sellers, and then there's the managers. And then there is the heads of sales. Yeah. Then there's the VPs. Yeah. And then there's sales operation. Then you have revenue operations. You have talent people who need to hire. Yeah, exactly. Those field sales. For different markets. People for different markets. You've got sales enablement, which is incredible and takes care of training and enabling our sellers. Already we have how many did I mention? More than 5 different, more than 10 user groups. If that was just one person per group, it's already 10. And then you multiply this with different markets, and whereas you have, let's say, maybe some level of cohesion within the UK and Europe. SumUp also operates in Brazil, for example, and Latin America, right? So over there is like a completely different. You basically take the departments and the stakeholders I've just laid out, and then you duplicate that because we have the same in Brazil, right? Exactly. So then the craziness, you turn that up to 100, amp it up. But I don't know. That's the bread and butter of the product manager, I think, and it's difficult to. I'm fully at peace with the fact that I can't make everyone happy, and I truly don't really intend to make everyone happy. It's important for me that I do and I prioritize the right thing for the business. But then I always do right by the user, which ultimately for me is the seller. That is, the boots on the ground. Yeah. And I think working with you, that made it easier for me because you've always represented the voice of the seller, right? You've always represented that. And frankly, like you helped me with. Otherwise, I would have had to do that, and juggling that and also the business, it obviously makes my life way more difficult. So having someone who is like specialized in understanding users, knows how to talk to them, was super important. And also by you being so focused on that, you bring a strong voice to the table that oftentimes will contrast what the business is saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trap that most people fall into, right? You have your sales leadership who thinks they represent their sellers, but sometimes the reality is vastly different. So then you need someone who knows how to speak to the user, knows how to interview someone. So having that expertise in the team and in the project, I think, was paramount to its success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that is a thing we have in so many projects. Like, I think it's not about that people don't know what the others are doing. Like, it's not that easy, right? I think it's, and that showed so much in this project too, is that it's about the really of nuances of your understanding of what everyone's daily reality is.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if the pressure is up, then people, focus even more on their individual goal, because all of this together is the business success in the end.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Absolutely.
if we only do what management wants, then the sellers won't use the app. If we just do what the sellers want,
we never make money.
Then we never make money. And it's like, so like, to get into all of this was really interesting, I have to say. And so also the different ways we did that. I mean, you even shadowed a couple of field sales reps multiple times.
Yeah,
even, right?
And I love doing that because I'm not the user. I represent the user, but for me to represent them, I need to like roll up my sleeves and actually do the thing.
Yeah.
And it's frightening to be a field seller. Like, you have to face so much rejection and like closed doors, and then you need to be like relentless.
The story that I always tell new customers is, and I think what we always strive to do a bit better or to leverage is that, especially in this project, it became super clear that the actual UI design is not the hard part. Like, I think it actually never is. Like,
exactly. Right? I was just going to say, like, UI is almost never the problem.
It's never the problem. And I would even go as far to say, even though it was very hard, or is in this project, that even programming the actual, like, as soon as you know what you're doing, it's still hard, but it's,
I mean, is it? It's not easy for sure, but I think in terms of like engineering problems, like, and engineering challenges, this is not
it's not rocket science.
Coding the web application is not the problem. I think the difficult part is orchestrating a good experience. And orchestrating a good experience with sufficient data flows given the constraints we have, because some of our existing systems are the way they are.
Yeah, totally. And so in that, we always try to use research in a way that we have less do-overs after the fact. So like, the story that we always tell people, and that's the goal that we're striving for, is to have a good enough concept as quickly as possible, so to say, to then really know what you do. So, as we said before, the actual implementation can go as quickly as possible, and you don't have to do it again after going live, so to say. I don't know. What do you think? Like, we probably didn't always nail it, or like, how was that experience?
I don't think we always nailed it. And if we would have thought that we always nailed it, then we definitely, like, there would be something wrong,
Also delusional.
We would be delulu. Like,
yeah.
This is a challenge when talking to a lot of like senior business stakeholders, because the moment they hear like research and spending time doing discovery,
and not the thing,
they're like, oh my god,
what are you
doing?
Spend
months doing nothing. You could have like coded this with AI.
Exactly.
So I hear this often, but like actually, the way I try to explain it is,
It's funny because it's true.
It is true. Look,
yeah.
right? And not to put down like what you can do with AI and all of that. Like you can build great prototypes and proof of concepts using tools like Lovable and whatever.
Yeah.
But talking to your users and doing this initial piece of research is not anything more than doing your due diligence.
Yeah.
And to put it in business speak, if you're going to acquire a company and you're going through an M&A effort, and your due diligence sucks, you're going to acquire a bad company maybe, and you're going to suffer.
I never heard that comparison before, but that totally makes sense.
That's how it is. And then it's actually the same thing. If you just have an idea and you think you're this sort of like product genius that knows the user inside out, and you just build what you think is good without doing any due diligence, you might end up using something that A, is not used or is actually used in the total opposite way that you intended. And then most often than not, you end up having to do a big rework, which, to put it in business terms, you're paying twice for the same thing.
Exactly. In time and money.
In time and money.
And
you're
in
also
user frustration and trust.
User frustration, right? But also team frustration, right?
Yeah.
Like as a developer, as a product manager, as a designer, if you're building something and then 2 months after you realize like, oh, it's all wrong, that affects the team morale as well.
It totally does.
And that's not to say, again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be working in iterations and that it's normal that products evolve, feedback evolves, markets evolve, yada, yada.
Goals change, like all of that's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
But don't just like jump head into something and like part of doing user research is also prototyping something, maybe with AI.
Yeah, exactly.
And showing your users 2-3 different options.
Oh, we use tons of AI.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you interview 5 people, then just to transcribe that and to find similarities in what they said.
Of course.
Amazing application for AI, because that's what it's really good at. Yeah, so I'm super happy that you're happy with this approach. And I think I want to also take a second to say that I'm very happy that we got to work that way, because like what we just described also, I think, takes guts from management, because to leave it to a broader group in your team to jointly decide your roadmap.
Yeah.
That shows that you trust your team to do the right thing, and that you don't necessarily feel that you're the oracle who knows everything and who has to dictate every detail down onto whatever implementation step is there. And I think that's a bit scary. Like that's a bit scary for people. And we've had enough projects where we were pretty convinced from what we heard in discovery research that we're probably going to build the wrong thing. And then we did.
Yeah.
And then it was horrible for everyone for all the reasons that you just outlined. Yeah. And so in that and in the high stakes situation, to sort of, trust the team and let them do their thing. Yeah. That was just such a rewarding experience for us, for sure. Like that we could do that.
Yeah.
And that it, in fact, did what we intended it to do is even more awesome to hear. So I'm very happy with that.
I'm happy you're happy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This is the preferred way of working. And
totally.
I just think more people should have the guts that you mentioned. And props to the SumUp leadership for saying go for it.
Do it your way.
Yeah.
Do it your way and do it well.
Yeah, I mean, it's but it's also part of, I think every product manager, no matter the seniority, like should advocate for this way of working. And it doesn't happen a lot of times. It doesn't happen because it's intimidating to go to leadership and say like, explain what I've just explained.
Exactly.
Right? It's sometimes they're like, shut up, you're crazy. Like,
so I think one misconception that we can maybe talk about super briefly is that and you also had that reaction when we were started to talk about research, is that the word research it has a bit of a problem similar to the word design in general, that people always, when they hear design, they think it's optional decoration. Like that's just this broad,
pretty.
I would say,
make it pretty.
Make it pretty, exactly. Which I think goes beyond, like, besides the point of design. And research in a bit of a different way, but still has this problem that people think of academia and of semester-long white paper writing and all of this sort of stuff, right? But I mean, this is not how we do research in an environment like this. What's your, what would you say? How was our work mode or dynamic like that?
Absolutely. I think, to be fair, like doing research, it sometimes means like hopping on a 15-minute call with someone where they maybe share their screen and use a prototype that you built in another like 15 minutes. You know, it doesn't have to be a quarter-long endeavor. Like it shouldn't be like that. So research means sending out a survey, analyzing, I don't know, customer support tickets, sentiment analysis. You can do more in-depth stuff, but especially in the context that we were, where our users are actually some employees or contractors, that you have very quick access to. It's actually super quick, so you would be silly not to do it, if I may say so.
Absolutely.
Also, I think it's a bit our fault as designers and product people that the business stakeholders have become so scared of user research, discovery, all of this. Because I think in the industry, we've become very pedantic about oh no, nothing gets onto the backlog on the roadmap without doing discovery. And then I know teams that are doing discovery for, changing a call to action from here to here. And I'm like, if I was the business leader of that, that I would also be like, come on, that's ridiculous. What are you doing?
Totally. You're wasting resources.
So
absolutely.
I also get their perspective, which is why I think when speaking to them, you kind of need to like be very, like, have this high degree of empathy and understand like where they're coming from. And if you have to change the language that you use to get your point across, fine. Like, I don't care if it's research, discovery, or due diligence.
And that's a beautiful point. Like, I'm nodding so heavily. I'm nodding so heavily. Many designers and many researchers give off this notion or this vibe that they're trying to trick business people in doing something. Research is not something that is supposed to be a thing that tricks business into deciding for a feature that designers would love to make. Like, that's so beside the point that it's almost ridiculous. And so, like, the trust always goes both ways, right?
Of course.
If management entrusts you to figure out the roadmap by yourself, or to at least suggest what you think is a good order of things, what people need, then you get a proof that you were right. Because the entire point of this is to enable something for the business, which, of course, we want to make the users happy. But I think a big point that I always miss when people talk about research and why we do research, it's not to only make the users happy. The users being happy means they're using the product, which makes the entire organization relevant. Like, that's the point of all of it.
Of course. And I think it's also a skill gap that I think some designers and some product managers have, because they don't have a good enough commercial understanding of their business. And I think if we were to live in a perfect world, doing the thing that's right for the users should theoretically always like result in more business impact.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, sometimes we live in a reality where that's not the case, or there's not a direct correlation. So you need to be able, as the researcher, to make that connection for the business and for the users, and to almost like advocate for both of them at the same time and find that
Absolutely.
middle ground. Because obviously the business always wants the customers to be happy,
Yes.
right? But also sometimes the business wants to sell more
Yes.
because we function in a capitalistic society, right?
That's what it is.
So
Yeah.
that's why fundamentally sometimes the interests are not entirely the same, because sometimes as a consumer, maybe I don't actually want to consume more, but
Yeah.
you know
Sure.
what I mean.
Absolutely.
But
Totally.
I think like it's paramount for designers and user researchers and product managers to have a strong commercial understanding
Mhm.
of the context they operate in. Otherwise, they can't advocate for their users properly, and
Exactly.
that's the saddest part.
Yeah. Totally. Because even the users in many applications have a commercial interest. Like they came to do something.
Of
and
course.
Sometimes it's to buy something or to get something done.
I mean, marketplaces are a great example of this, right?
Yeah.
You have your consumers who want to buy something at the cheapest possible price.
Mhm.
You have your sellers who want to sell at the most expensive possible price.
Yeah.
And then you have your platform who wants to make the most amount of sales as possible.
Exactly.
So the platform is inherently the mediator.
Yeah.
But like that's a perfect example, right?
It is absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So
I gotta say, like this past year, first of all, it flew by. Like it's
absolutely.
Woof, I can't believe that we're here now.
Yeah.
That Sidekick is about to go out of Europe and into Americas. Like
yes.
Both of them actually. And that it's attracting more internal customers and all of that. Like this is the best I could ever have hoped for. And I just want to say, like, I'm very happy that I get to do this project with you.
Likewise.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so happy to hear, that we could help and to make this product.
Of course, absolutely. And it goes without saying that the feelings are mutual. And yeah, it's also really fun. So that also makes it great.
Awesome. Perfect. What a high note to end this interview.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again to come on.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dinghy. Thank you everyone who's helped us make this a success.
Awesome.